The human girl walked carefully across the shiny floor of the space station. She was small, with bright eyes full of curiosity. Her black cat followed her silently, tail high, moving like a shadow. The girl held the cat close when the wind of the docking bay hit, but the cat seemed calm, unafraid. Around them, aliens of all shapes and colors stared. Some had wings, some had many eyes, some had long tentacles. They whispered to each other and pointed at the girl. They brought a human child? And a cat? One of the winged aliens said, laughing. Its voice was high and squeaky like glass chimes. How weak. How strange. The girl ignored them. She had learned long ago not to answer. Her cat, however, looked at the aliens, ears flat, eyes sharp. It was small, black, and ordinary to most, but its movements were careful, fast, and full of attention. No alien noticed it. They only saw a tiny pet, nothing more. Her father had warned her. Never let anyone make you feel small, he said. Humans are clever and our strength is different. They may laugh, but they will see one day. She believed him. She knew she was small and her cat was small too, but size had never been the only measure of power. The girl and her cat moved toward the living quarters. The aliens continued to watch, pointing and whispering. Some mocked the girl, saying she should be left behind. One alien even tapped the cat with a long claw, and the cat hissed softly, stepping back, never attacking, just warning. The aliens jumped back, surprised at the cat's courage. But they laughed again, calling it a small fluff that cannot do anything. The girl smiled softly. She knew her cat was not ordinary. It had been with her since she was little. It had saved her from accidents, guided her when she was lost, and always stayed by her side. No technology, no weapons, no training, it only needed instinct and trust. She stroked its soft black fur and whispered, "Don't worry, we will show them someday." The cat purred quietly like it understood every word. The station was huge. It was alive with noise, lights, and machines. Humans had only arrived recently, so everyone else assumed humans were weak. Most aliens were bigger, stronger, faster, and they had weapons that could move mountains. The girl had nothing but her cat and her mind. That was enough for her. At the common area, aliens crowded together. Some were playing games with floating spheres. Others were discussing strategies for exploration. The girl sat on a bench quietly, her cat on her lap. An alien approached, tall with 4 eyes, and asked, "Why is your pet here?" "We'll slow you down. Humans are strange. Why do you care for a weak animal?" The girl looked at the alien calmly. "It is not weak. It sees things you do not. It listens when others do not. And it is my friend. That is enough." The alien blinked its many eyes, confused. It did not understand friendship or trust. Only strength and numbers mattered to them. Hours passed. The girl learned to watch the aliens closely. They laughed, they argued, they moved too fast to notice small changes. But she saw patterns. She saw how they reacted, how they trusted technology more than life, how they underestimated anything small. The cat also watched. Its eyes followed every movement, its ears picked up every sound. The girl smiled. "We are ready," she whispered. "We are ready for anything." As the sun of the artificial sky dipped low, the station grew quiet. The girl and her cat stood near a window and looked at the world outside. Ships flew past, carrying aliens to other worlds. Humans were few. They were outsiders. But being an outsider had its advantage. The aliens never expected humans to act in ways they could not predict. The girl knew that the cat's speed, its instinct, and her understanding of life together would give them a chance. One day everyone would see. The girl stroked the cat one last time before night. "We are small, but we are strong in our way. Tomorrow they will laugh again. And tomorrow we will show them something they cannot ignore." The cat leapt from her arms and landed lightly on the floor, like a shadow sliding silently. It was ready. She was ready. And so, the outsiders waited quietly while the aliens continued to laugh. They did not know that the smallest things often carried the greatest surprises. One day the black cat and the human girl would change everything. The morning on the station was quiet at first. The girl woke early and fed her black cat, who purred and rubbed against her legs. Outside, the artificial sun rose slowly over the docking bays, lighting the huge station in soft gold. The girl liked mornings. They felt calm, peaceful, even in a place full of aliens who often laughed at humans. But today would not stay calm for long. A warning light flashed suddenly on the wall, red and bright. A voice echoed through the corridors. "Attention! Security breach. Biological subject in the eastern sector." Aliens rushed in every direction. Many of them were armed with energy tools, protective suits, and small devices to control dangerous creatures. The girl followed quietly with her cat. She was curious, not scared. The cat's tail swished slowly, its eyes wide and alert. The alarms led to the eastern sector, a large open area filled with strange plants and tall metal structures. At the center, a massive creature stood, a warbeast the size of a small building. Its skin was thick and shiny, covered in colors that changed as it moved. Its many legs shook the ground slightly with every step. The creature was not violent yet, only curious, but its strength and size were enough to cause panic. Aliens shouted and pushed each other, trying to find the best way to control it. Some wanted to use nets, some wanted to use stun beams, some even suggested luring it back with food. The girl watched carefully. She noticed that the warbeast moved in patterns. It tested the barriers, looked for gaps, and seemed to think faster than the machines around it. The human's small size and calm approach made them invisible to the panicking aliens. "Move out of the way, child," one winged alien shouted. "This is dangerous. Your pet cannot help." The girl ignored it. She knelt slightly and whispered to her cat, "Watch carefully. It is fast, but it has a pattern. Wait for the right moment." The cat's ears twitched and it sat silently, eyes never leaving the warbeast. The aliens were too focused on their machines and tools. They believed strength, size, and technology would solve every problem. But the warbeast was clever. It moved closer to a control panel, testing the limits of its cage. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the machine started to fail. The aliens panicked. Some were pushed back by the creature's strength. Some stumbled and fell. The girl stayed calm, holding her cat, watching everything carefully. The cat's tail twitched once, then twice. Its muscles were ready. It knew exactly when the moment would come. The girl understood without words. This was not about fighting. This was about timing, observation, and courage. She whispered softly, "Go." The cat leapt in one smooth, perfect movement. It was small, but its speed was incredible. It landed on the warbeast's sensitive back area, the only weak point the girl had noticed while watching quietly. The creature hissed and stumbled. It did not scream or roar violently. It only lost balance for a moment. That moment was enough. Aliens froze. They could not understand what had just happened. The cat remained calm, eyes focused, and quickly jumped back to the girl's arms. The warbeast looked confused. It stopped moving in patterns, its curiosity replaced by caution. The girl smiled softly. "See? Sometimes the smallest things make the biggest difference." The aliens stared in disbelief. Their technology had failed. Their strength had failed. And a tiny black cat had solved the problem without any destruction. One tall alien approached and asked carefully, How did it do that?" The girl looked at it calmly. "We watch. We wait. We understand. Humans have lived with animals for thousands of years. We know how they think. And my cat, it knows how to act when it is needed." The alien blinked slowly, struggling to comprehend. All its life, strength had been measured by size, weapons, and machines. It had never considered instinct, timing, or partnership as power. The warbeast now sat quietly, unsure of what to do next. The girl patted her cat, who purred and rubbed against her arm. "Everything is fine now," she said softly. "No one is hurt. We only needed patience and trust." Slowly the aliens started to calm down. Some looked embarrassed. Some still whispered, but their tone had changed. They could no longer laugh at humans or at a small black cat. Something had shifted. Humans were not weak. They were different, but that difference had power. The girl and her cat left the eastern sector together. No one tried to stop them. They walked calmly through the corridors while aliens stared and whispered. She knew this day would be remembered. Not because of fighting or destruction, but because something small, careful, and intelligent had saved everyone. Back in the quiet living quarters, she placed the cat down and smiled. "You did well," she said. The cat purred, rubbing against her legs again. It had not attacked. It had not hurt anyone. It had only acted when it mattered most. That was enough. Outside, the station continued its daily work. Ships flew past. Aliens walked and laughed again, but now there was a new respect in their eyes. Humans were small, yes, but they were clever. They could think, observe, and act in ways no one else expected. And one day, everyone would understand that sometimes strength is not measured by size, but by patience, courage, and trust. The girl stroked her cat one last time for the day. "Tomorrow will be another challenge," she whispered. "But we are ready." The cat jumped up, tail high, ready to face whatever came next. And somewhere in the corridors, aliens looked on quietly. The human girl and her black cat had changed everything, without a single weapon, without a single loud fight, just with instinct and calm intelligence. The next day began quietly. The station hummed with life as aliens moved between labs, docking bays, and living quarters. The human girl sat on a bench with her black cat in her lap, watching everything carefully. She noticed small details others ignored: how the warbeast moved when it was curious, how the guards reacted to its presence, and how the barriers shifted under pressure. The cat, alert and silent, followed every movement with its bright, steady eyes. The aliens had tried to dismiss yesterday's incident, but the whispers were everywhere. Some were still embarrassed, others were suspicious. They did not understand how such a small creature had controlled the situation without any tools or machines. They laughed less now and watched more. The girl noticed, but she said nothing. She knew the cat had more to show, more lessons to teach. Suddenly, alarms blared again. Another warbeast had escaped from a nearby containment field. It was smaller than the first one but faster and more curious. The aliens panicked immediately, rushing toward the corridors with stun beams and cages. They shouted orders and argued about the best way to stop it. Their machines and weapons moved faster than ever, but the warbeast seemed smarter this time. It dodged, circled, and tested everything. The girl stood quietly in the crowd, holding her cat. She whispered softly, "Watch carefully. Wait for the right moment. You know what to do." The cat's ears twitched, its tail swishing slowly. Its muscles were tense, ready to leap at exactly the right instant. Unlike the aliens, it did not panic. It did not rely on machines. It relied on instinct and timing. The warbeast approached a control panel, sniffing and tapping with its legs. Sparks flew from the edges and the floor shook with its steps. The aliens tried to block it, but the creature moved faster than any plan. One alien slipped, another collided with a machine, and the corridors filled with confusion. Most aliens thought only strength and technology could solve the problem. They did not see the smallest, quietest solution standing right in front of them. The girl knelt, her eyes following the warbeast carefully. She noticed the exact moment when the creature shifted its weight to one side. The black cat, sensing the movement, leapt lightly from her arms. In one perfect jump, it landed on the warbeast's back, right on the spot the girl had quietly observed before. The creature paused, surprised. It stumbled slightly, unsure of what had happened. Its balance shifted, but it did not panic. It only realized that this small, quiet being had done something clever. Aliens froze in place. They could not understand what had just happened. Machines had failed, numbers had failed, but a small black cat had acted at the exact moment needed. Its leap had solved the problem without violence or destruction. It did not attack the warbeast harshly. It simply disrupted the creature's movement with precision and timing. The girl smiled softly and called her cat back. "Good job," she whispered. The cat leapt lightly back into her arms, calm as ever. The warbeast, unsure and cautious, stopped moving aggressively and quietly observed the humans and the cat. The aliens, meanwhile, stared in shock and confusion. No one had expected such intelligence, such calm action from a small creature. One alien finally spoke, hesitating. It did not use strength or weapons, it used timing? It struggled to find words. All its life, power had been measured in size, tools, and force. It had never considered instinct, observation, or cooperation as real power. The girl nodded. Yes, sometimes the smallest things are the smartest. Sometimes watching and waiting is stronger than rushing and shouting. My cat acted exactly when it needed to. No one got hurt. That is real strength. Slowly the aliens began to understand. Some blushed, others looked embarrassed. Some muttered to each other. The lesson was clear: humans and their companions were not weak. They were clever, patient, and able to act in ways no one else expected. Even the smallest beings could solve problems that machines and armies could not. The warbeast now sat quietly, unsure what to do next. It looked at the girl and the cat as if respecting their presence. The girl stroked the cat, who purred softly. See? We don't need to fight to show strength. We only need to understand and act wisely. As the day went on, the aliens began to move with more care. They watched the girl and her cat closely. They no longer laughed or mocked. Something inside them had changed. Humans were outsiders, yes, but outsiders who could see patterns, trust instincts, and act with intelligence. Something small had taught them a lesson about patience, timing, and respect. By evening, the station grew calm again. The girl and her cat returned to their quarters, walking quietly while aliens whispered and stared. She placed the cat down and smiled. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges," she said softly. "But we are ready." The cat rubbed against her legs, tail high, purring steadily. It had done its part. It had leapt when needed and observed everything else. Together, the girl and the cat had shown the aliens a truth they could not ignore. Real power is not always measured by size, machines, or weapons. Sometimes it comes from patience, observation, and instinct. And somewhere in the corridors, aliens looked on quietly, now fully aware that humans and their companions could change everything without a single loud fight. The leap of the black cat had proven that small, careful actions could solve problems bigger than anyone expected. After the cat's leap, the station was unusually quiet. The war beast had stopped moving aggressively, sitting in the middle of the corridor and watching the humans carefully. The girl stood calmly, holding her black cat close. Its tail swished slowly, and its eyes glimmered with quiet intelligence. The aliens, however, were frozen in place, unable to speak or move. They stared in disbelief at what had just happened. No machine, no weapon, no plan had worked. Only a small black cat, following instinct and timing, had solved the problem. The aliens could not explain it. Their minds had been trained to measure strength in size, in power, in technology. But this was different. It did not fit their ideas of strength. It was quiet, clever, and completely unexpected. A tall alien with 4 eyes approached slowly, blinking in surprise. It did not attack, it said finally. It did not use force, yet the war beast stopped. How is this possible? The girl looked at the alien calmly. It used observation. It waited. It acted at exactly the right time. That is how it works. Humans and animals can understand things that are too small for machines to notice. Timing, patience, trust, these are all strengths too. The alien's many eyes widened. It tried to imagine following instincts instead of orders, watching instead of pushing forward. The idea felt strange, almost uncomfortable. But it had seen it happen. The girl's words matched reality. The cat had done exactly what the humans promised. Act when needed, without violence, without noise, without destruction. Other aliens whispered to each other. It is only a cat, one said quietly. But how? Another winged alien looked ashamed. We thought humans were weak. And we laughed. But we were wrong. The girl did not laugh. She only stroked her cat. Being small does not mean being weak. Being quiet does not mean being powerless. We do not always act with force. Sometimes watching and waiting is stronger than attacking. The station began to calm slowly. Aliens stepped back from the corridor, no longer shouting orders. Their machines powered down. The war beast sat quietly, looking from the girl to her cat. It did not understand humans or their animals, but it sensed that this pair was different. The girl and the cat had acted together, and the result had been complete control without harm. Some aliens approached cautiously, still curious. One asked, "Will it happen again? Can we teach this to others?" The girl shook her head softly. No. This cannot be taught like a machine or a weapon. It comes from understanding, trust, and timing. Each creature is different. Each moment is different. You cannot repeat it exactly, but you can learn to watch, to wait, and to trust instincts. The aliens nodded slowly. For the first time they began to respect humans, not for size, not for strength, not for technology, but for their intelligence and understanding. They had always measured power in ways they could see and touch. Now they had learned that some strength is quiet, invisible, and still the most powerful. The black cat jumped lightly from the girl's arms and walked across the floor, tail high, confident. It did not run, it did not fight, it only moved with perfect balance and awareness. The aliens watched in awe. Even the war beast seemed to respect its calm presence, sitting quietly, observing but not moving. The girl smiled. "Do you see?" she said softly. "It is not about size or power. It is about knowing when to act. It is about watching, learning, and trusting. That is how humans and animals can survive and succeed, even when others doubt them." One winged alien bowed slightly. "We have been blind. We laughed at what we did not understand. But now we see. Humans, and your animals, are cleverer than we imagined." The girl nodded. She understood that change was slow. Aliens would need time to adjust their thinking. They had been trained to measure strength in one way, and now they had to see a new truth. She held her cat close. Its soft fur brushed against her hands, calm and steady. Together they had shown the aliens a lesson they would not forget. By the end of the day, the station returned to its normal rhythm. Aliens walked carefully, whispering and looking at humans in a new light. The war beast was returned safely to its containment area, still calm and unharmed. Humans had not fought, destroyed, or harmed. They had only acted with intelligence, observation, and trust. The girl and her cat returned to their quarters quietly. She placed the cat down on the soft bed and smiled. "Today was important," she said. "They will not forget it." And tomorrow we will be ready for whatever comes next. The cat purred softly, curling up and closing its eyes, satisfied with its work. Outside, the aliens walked the corridors, some still whispering, some watching, all thinking differently now. The human girl and her black cat had changed the way they understood strength. Not with weapons, not with machines, not with violence, but with patience, intelligence, and quiet courage. And somewhere in the station, a lesson spread slowly. Never underestimate small creatures, never underestimate humans, and never assume strength is only what you can see. Sometimes, the smallest, quietest actions make the biggest difference. The morning after the Warbeast incident, the station felt different. Aliens moved more carefully through the halls. They watched humans closely, whispering among themselves, trying to understand what they had witnessed. The girl walked with her black cat beside her, calm and confident. No one laughed at them anymore. The whispers were quiet, respectful, even curious. The girl noticed the change but said nothing. She had learned long ago that respect was earned slowly, not demanded. The cat walked silently beside her, tail high, ears alert. It moved like a shadow, unnoticed by most, but the aliens who had seen its leap yesterday looked at it with a new kind of attention. At the central courtyard, a group of aliens gathered. They wanted to study what had happened. "We need to understand," one tall alien said. "Humans act differently. They think differently. Their companions are different. We must learn from this." The girl nodded. "You can observe, but remember this, not everything can be taught. Observation, timing, trust, and patience are learned in life, not in books. My cat did not follow orders. It followed instinct. It acted when it was needed. That is strength." Aliens looked puzzled but attentive. They had relied on machines, power, and force all their lives. Now they had to consider something entirely new. Humans were small, yes, but they could understand situations in ways no alien had expected. They could see patterns, trust instincts, and act precisely at the right moment. That was something no machine, no weapon, and no training could replace. The girl walked slowly through the courtyard, cat in her arms. Young aliens approached carefully, trying to get a closer look at both of them. One asked softly, "Can humans always do this? Can your companions always act like this?" The girl smiled gently. "Every human and every companion is different. But every human can learn to watch, to understand, and to act wisely. That is the real strength. And animals, they are our friends. They teach us patience, courage, and careful action." The aliens listened quietly. Some nodded slowly. Others whispered to each other. A new respect had begun to grow, not just for the girl and her cat, but for humans as a species. They were no longer outsiders to be laughed at. They were clever, careful, and capable of solutions no one else could imagine. News of the incident spread throughout the station. Aliens in other sections of the station began talking about humans differently. "They are not weak," one said. "They are careful, smart, and unpredictable. That is power we cannot measure." Another added, "They're small creatures, their companions, can teach lessons about timing and trust. We must watch and learn." The girl returned to her quarters with her cat. She set it down and watched it stretch and walk around. "You did well," she said softly. "Not because of size or strength but because of timing and instinct. That is what makes us human, and what makes you special too." The cat purred, rubbing against her legs, satisfied. As the day went on, humans received invitations to study areas where aliens had once ignored them. They were asked to teach patience, observation, and trust, not weapons or machines but skills of the mind and heart. The girl's example became the story everyone remembered. Small humans, small companions but clever beyond measure. Even the war beast, now safely returned to its enclosure, seemed to act differently when humans approached. It was calmer, more aware, almost respectful. The girl laughed softly. "See? Even they notice when strength is not loud." The cat leapt onto her shoulder, tail high, ready for whatever came next. By evening, the station was quiet again. The girl watched the sky through the observation window, lights of distant ships moving slowly across the stars. The black cat sat beside her, alert and calm. The girl thought about the aliens, the machines, and the chaos of yesterday. Everything had changed. Humans were no longer laughed at or dismissed. Respect had been earned, not through fighting, not through machines, not through power, but through careful action, observation, and trust. The girl whispered softly to her cat, "Tomorrow may bring another challenge. But we are ready. We are not the strongest by size, but we are strong in ways they cannot measure." The cat purred, tail swishing, eyes bright and calm. Together they had proven a truth: strength is not always about force. Sometimes it is about patience, trust, and quiet courage. Elsewhere on the station, aliens spoke in hushed tones. Humans, they are different. They think differently. We cannot ignore them. Another added, and their companions, small as they are, can do things we never imagined. Respect spread slowly, quietly, through the corridors and halls. Humans had changed their world not with power or violence, but with intelligence, observation, and small acts that mattered most. The human girl and her black cat became symbols of this new respect. Aliens would watch them carefully but now with admiration, not mockery. And the girl knew, deep inside, that this was only the beginning. Humans, small and clever, could face any challenge. Their companions, loyal and instinctive, could act when needed. Together, they had shown the galaxy a new kind of strength. As the artificial sun set, painting the station in warm light, the girl stroked her cat once more. "We did it," she said softly. "They see us now. They will never underestimate humans or our friends again." The cat purred, tail high, ready for whatever came next. The girl smiled, knowing the galaxy had just learned a lesson it would not forget. Real power is quiet, careful, and wise, and sometimes, it comes in the smallest, most unexpected forms.